good day. Now, we're going to proceed with another supplementary video for management on the go. We have this topic now. It's all about organization. Well, as a structure, an organization is a network or arrangement of parts to make up an identifiable entity that serves a purpose. It's also a network of specific relationships among given individuals according to McFarland. And according to Orwick and Gulick, it's a structure of relationships, power, objectives, rules, activities, and other factors which exist when people work together. Now, as you can see here, we have the functional layers of an organization. At the bottom are the rank and file employees, then the supervisory or supervisors, then the managerial and the executive. The executive layer, well, strategic dealings, they do these things. They deal with strategic dealings, policy, the vision, mission, goals, and functions of the organization. At the managerial level, they do the coordinative functions. At the supervisory level, they do the operational functions, and the rank and file, they do the actual work. Some say that they do the dirty work, but I would rather choose that they do the actual work. Now, as a process, an organization, well, an activity characterized by systematic sequencing of events or activity. And as a system, an organization is a dynamic social system of cooperative interactions with the purpose of satisfying individual needs. That's according to Chester Barnard. By the UN Handbook of 1975, an organization is a human resource system which is designed to achieve specific goals through division of labor, integrated efforts, often the striving to attain the highest level of efficiency and effectiveness in human performance. And as a system, the organization is made up of parts which are an organized unitary whole made up of two or more independent parts or subsystems and delineated by identifiable boundaries from its environmental suprasystem. Well, we can see here the transformation process of an organization. Within an organization, we start with the inputs, then proceed with the managerial process, then proceed with the outputs, whether it be goods or services, and then based on the environment, we are going to scan the demands, problems, and needs, and then feedbacks with regards to the operations of the organization. And then these feedbacks will be put back to the inputs. On the left side, we can see the M's, the 8 M's of management, which are man, money, materials, machines, methods, memoranda, market, and moment. So let's proceed. Managerial process is the throughput, which includes planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, and budgeting. The outputs are the resulting goods and services, and in the environment, we have the feedbacks, whether it be positive or negative. Positive feedbacks are affirmations of the good the output did, and negative feedbacks are the criticisms. Criticisms never mend, it always endures. Now, we have the work values in management. First is the efficiency, output over input, and then the ability to achieve quantity and quality of output given less inputs, more on less. So that's efficiency. So less inputs should result to maximized outputs. Then the economy, regulation of the use of resources, keeping it at a minimum, and maximization of resources. Third is the effectiveness, the ability to achieve desired results. Fourth efficacy, the ability to deliver impact, causes change for the better. Then let's proceed with the component elements of an organization. Organizations exist for an objective. Next, the hierarchy. It's the authority and responsibility. Third, responsibility. No authority when there is no responsibility. That's very important because when you have authority, it should correspond to a responsibility. That's where Spider-Man comes in. With more power comes great responsibility. Fourth, human and non-human resources. Fifth, relationships, whether it be physical, intellectual, and emotional involvement of members in group goals and sharing of responsibility. And cooperation is very, very important when you are in an organization. The elements are the readiness and willingness, enthusiasm, and to work with others. Sixth component element of an organization is decisions. Strategic decisions and tactical decisions. Strategic decisions, they are broad-ranging to accommodate the future, directional, or to accommodate the future, and well, it serves as a direction for the organization. In tactical, it's a day-to-day. The importance of organizations. First, it is to facilitate realization of societal goals. The organizations make them happen. Next is organizations help preserve knowledge. Third, the organizations provide people careers. They provide an opportunity or a venue for the people to do their work and to engage in fulfilling careers. Fourth is organizations facilitates administration. That is policy on a policy level or authority level, managing the details of the day. The fifth is organizations facilitates growth and diversification. 6. Organizations provide optimum use of technology, research and development, and research, development, and innovation. That is. 7. Encourage the use of human beings, because human resources is so crucial, it's so important that we have to bring it out to light. We have to maximize the potential of the humans. 8 is stimulates activity, or creativity rather. The organizations stimulates creativity. Once you are within the organization, you will be encouraged to optimize your creativity for the betterment of the organization and for the betterment or for the realization of the organization's objectives. So let's proceed. Management is the soul, the animating life of the organization. Management is also the process of organizing resources, utilizing them to achieve group goals. According to McFarland, management is the fundamental, integrating, and operating mechanism underlying all organized efforts. According to George Terry, management is a distinctive process consisting of planning, organizing, actuating, controlling performance to determine and accomplish objectives by the use of men and resources. According to Martinez and his colleagues, management is the effective motivation of men and efficient utilization of resources for the attainment of predetermined goals. So we'll proceed with the management functions. As you all know, the management functions are the following: planning, organizing, leading and controlling. And then, let's proceed with the evolution of management thought. As early as people formed tribes and groups, management has already been practiced. Tribe leaders, the pharaoh, the sultan, they managed people in order to protect their territories. And during the time of Charles Babbage, in Economy of Machinery, it was described what is now called as the Babbage Principle, and it pointed out that commercial advantages available with a more careful division of labor. We've also heard stories of people working together in formal organizations, such as the Greek and Roman armies, the Roman Catholic Church, and the East India Company and the Hudson Bay Company. Then, the early strategies of management, we have here Machiavelli. He wrote the Discourses in 1531, which states, among others, that, quote, an organization is more stable if members have the right to express their differences and solve their conflicts within it, unquote. Then we have this Chinese philosopher, Sun Tzu. He wrote The Art of War, where he set rules that were meant to guide military strategy. They have been used when planning a strategy to engage business competitors. Early management theory consisted of numerous attempts at setting some theories, but there was no schools of thought that can be identified this early period. Now, we proceed with the traditional or classical period. During the 18th century, the Industrial Revolution began in England. New laws on labor were encouraged. So, under the scientific management, there's Frederick Taylor. He's the father of scientific management. Scientific being that standard of doing things were set. Okay, his contributions were productive efficiency on the shop floor, time and motion study, the economic man theory, which states that productivity or resulted to productivity, and the differential work system, wherein the people were paid as one as they produce. Then man is motivated when his material needs are responded to. And then we have, during this period, they introduced supervision or foremanship. And then fifth, there's the mental revolution. Contains 8 essays by Frederick W. Taylor, which espoused that an organization will be more effective if its practices are subjective to a scientific study. Then there were these criticisms of Taylorism, where man was perceived as a machine, and it's a very limited view of man's needs. Then we have this couple, Frank and Lillian Gilbreth. They collaborated on the development of motion study as an engineering and management technique. They studied bricklaying and applied the time and motion study, whose elements were called therbleig, which is the opposite of Gilbreth. And they had 12 children. Dr. Lillian Gilbreth continued the time and motion study in their household to find the one best way of doing things. And this is still being practiced by most of the organizations. They still would want to find the one best way of doing things, especially in productions, when you're producing goods. even with the services. And then we have Henry Gantt. Henry Gantt revolutionized management practices by providing a graphical representation, also known as the Gantt chart, of work processes that showed scheduling and monitoring projections. Then let's proceed with the administrative school. We have Henri Fayol, or maybe you want to call him Henri Fayol, but I would rather call him Henri Fayol. He set the 14 principles of traditional management. Efficient administration must range within systematic activities, wherein there's division of labor, the specialization for more efficient work. There is authority and responsibility. There is discipline as part of the 14 principles. The unity of command, wherein a person has to have a boss or a director at a time. Then the unity of direction, where everybody knows where the group is going and everybody knows what to do in order to follow one direction. Then there's the esprit de corps, or the teamwork, which is the promotion of a team spirit. Then there's the subordination of individual to general interests, and the remuneration, which is fair compensation for employee and employer. And there is also the centralization, which is the center of power. Then the span of control, which is authority. Authority is until to a certain extent. And then there's the scalar chain, where managers in hierarchies are part of a chain like authority scale. Each manager, from the first line supervisor to the president, possess certain amounts of authority. Then there's this order. Materials and people should be at the right place and at the right time. Then the stability of tenure. And then the initiative, the freedom to conceive and carry out plans. Then on the bureaucracy, it's an organizational model with specific hierarchical positions bound together by rules and procedure, which is the greatest example for this is our government. Now, Max Weber, we pronounce it as Max Weber, being a German. Well, you can relate to it as the Volkswagen, wherein they pronounce the W such as Weber. Now, Max Weber is a sociologist and a theorist. He is the father of bureaucracy. Now, the elements of bureaucracy, or the functions, are hierarchy. There's hierarchy, which spells out the superior-subordinate relationships. There's the boss, and then there's the minion. And then it defines the structure of relationships in all levels in the organization. Then there is also the division of labor, specialization of people in the organization, and job descriptions of people in the organization. Then there's prescribed rules and procedures. It provides stability because regulations are known. Then there's the career aspects, movement towards a career path, which partly, democracy. Then there is this legal aspects. It provides rationality, the reasonableness of its people and its positions and its functions. Then there's this power and authority. They are exercised in the organization and vested by law on the position and not on the person. However, there are dysfunctions in this bureaucracy. First, the hierarchy or the structure. To a certain extent, it is inoperative implementation and it's not flexible. Then there's division of labor, that specialization. Well, it's routinary and it's a bit narrow in perspectives. Then the rules and regulations, their stability, but the rigidity that it causes, to a certain extent, it ends up with a red tape. And then the partial democracy, well, it's a bit imperialistic. And then there's the legal, which is the rationality. To a certain extent, this being legalistic becomes impersonal, always pointing out to what is written in the rules and procedures, so we should follow this and that. So it becomes a bit impersonal. So now let's proceed with the neoclassical, the behavioral school, and the human relations school. So it adopted the concepts of the classical school, and it implemented on lighting, illumination study, but no substantial difference in work. And it introduced short breaks in the morning and afternoon, which improved productivity. So Elton Mayo is known as the founder of the human relations movement. He conducted industrial research, including the Hawthorne studies, which show the importance of groups in affecting the behavior of individuals at work. And then there's F.J. Roethlisberger, associated with Elton Mayo and the Hawthorne experiments. And then there's Abraham Maslow. He is a behavioral scientist, and he espouses that the needs of people are motivated to satisfy or fall into a hierarchy, which at the bottom you can see there's the basic needs, security needs, love or belonging needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. In his study, he states that you cannot proceed with achieving the next need if you are not satisfied with the lower needs. But, well, come to think of it, in reality, even though you are not sufficient enough with your basic needs, maybe you can still satisfy your love or belonging needs or esteem needs, right? Then there's Mary Parker Follet. Her ideas on negotiation, power, and employee participation contributed much in the field of organizational studies. It's an alternative dispute resolution. She, together with Lillian Gilbreth, are among the influential management gurus on the human relations movement. Then we have Douglas McGregor. According to him, employees are motivated by several factors. He has these two sets of assumptions, the theory X and theory Y. Theory X views people, it's a traditional view of people, and it's considers people to have an inherent dislike of work. That people regard work as means of survival and will avoid it whenever possible. And then it also assumes that people are lazy, they need direction, avoid responsibility, and relatively unambiguous. And then people must be coerced, controlled, directed, or even threatened. That's according to theory X. Now, according to the theory Y, theory Y is an optimistic view of human nature. People direct themselves towards objectives if their achievements are rewarded. Then it states that people want and are eager to work, and then people derive a great deal of satisfaction from their work, and it assumes that people are capable of doing a good job. 6. Chris Argyris states that there must be a greater autonomy and better jobs for workers. The design and structure of the organization should meet the human needs and increase the satisfaction of organization members. Then there is this Chester Barnard. We are now in the transition to the modern period. Chester Barnard is the father of systems theory. Well, states here, or according to Chester Barnard, management is made up of subsystems. A system has synergy. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So meaning it's not 1 plus 1 equals 2, but rather it's 1 plus 1 equals 3 in that sense. And a system is either open if it interacts with environment or closed if it does not. And it has a system boundary which stands between the subsystem and the environment. And then there is this process flow in the system, and feedbacks are necessary for the maintenance of the organization. Now third, we have the modern or contemporary school, emergence theory or convergence school. First is contingency perspective. A variety of factors, both internal and external, may affect the organization's performance. And then it states here, it assumes that there is no best way to manage or organize because of the contingencies. These contingencies are situational characteristics. It depends on whatever happens. And managers adapt their organizations according to the situations that they're involved in. We have Peter Drucker. He's an Austrian-born American management consultant, educator, and author. He wrote about the philosophical and practical foundations of the modern business corporation. He invented the concept known as management by objectives, or MBO, and he has been described as the father of modern management. We have W. Edward Deming. Deming is best known for his work in Japan after World War II, particularly his work with the leaders of the Japanese industry, which began in August 1950 at the Hakone Convention Center in Tokyo. In Japan, he was credited with being the inspiration for what has become known as the Japanese post-war economic miracle in 1950 to 1960. Rising from the ashes of war to become the second most powerful economy in the world in less than a decade. And then we have Lawrence J. Peter. He has this Peter's principle, which was developed in 1968. It presupposes that eventually people will reach a level of incompetence. Managers tend to be promoted to a level of competence according to this principle. Then we have this global imperative. The world has become a global village, and that managers must adopt a global vision regarding their organizations. What this means is that managerial theories, models, and perspectives must be adjusted to the global similarities and differences of people. We have this William Uchi in 1981. He introduced theory Z, or type Z management, wherein he combined the attributes of Japanese and American approaches to management. So we have here a table showing the dimensions and contrasting between American management and Japanese management. You can pause this to take a closer look. Now, the theory Z, let's look at this table. According to its dimensions, length of employment, the theory Z says that long-term employment is good. Decision making, when it comes to decision making, collective decision making is preferable. When it comes to responsibility, it should be individual responsibility. When it comes to promotion, slow promotion. When it comes to mechanism of control, implicitly informal control with explicit formal measures. When it comes to career path, it should be moderately specialized careers, and when it comes to concern for employee, it should be holistic. It should be a holistic concern, including the family of each employee. Then we have this total quality management, very new perspectives on competition and business strategy. And then there's focus on excellence and a renewed interest in people, including employees and customers. And then comes this total quality management, which consists of organization-wide efforts to install and make permanent a climate in which an organization continuously improves its ability to deliver high-quality products and services to customers. So that is it for now. See you in the next Management on the Go. If you like this kind of topic, like and subscribe.